Hello, I'm going to share with you today some success that I've had with creating just a basic custom character. We wouldn't even call it a character really. It was just trying to get something exported from Blender into Unreal Tournament and have it work with the animations and everything. And as you can see, it does work. I don't know what I just did there. Oh, okay. So yeah, it seems to be working. I mean, it's ugly, but it's just the concept. So we'll go ahead and explore how I got from a cube in Blender, to this. Alright, so let's get started. We've opened up our Unreal Tournament editor, and the first thing we're going to need is a base character skeletal mesh. So let's find that. I believe it's in restricted assets and probably character. Of course, the folder I'm using for all my stuff is my stuff, and then base mesh. Okay, so base 3P is probably what we need. Let's click on this. Okay, so yeah, we've got the blueprint, animation, mesh, and skeleton. Alright, so yep, everything looks like it's there. So let's go ahead and export this. So we're going to go to Asset Actions, Export as an FBX, and I've already done this once, but I'm going to go ahead and just call it donor. So we're going to export base 3P as, I'm just calling it donor. So we're going to save, and we're going to replace. Alright. So now we are done with this for the moment. Actually, before we close this, let's copy this into my folder, or whatever folder you're working out of. I'll go ahead and drag and drop into my stuff and say copy here. And so then I go over here and base 3P, and I've already made a Boxman folder in my stuff folder. Just to keep things separate, this is bones from our earlier tutorials, and I still need to make a tutorial on this material instance, which is way better than the other way I was showing you guys how to do it. I've learned since then. So base 3P into Boxman, move, and into mesh. There's probably an easy way to do this too. And so now that he's copied, I'm going to rename him donor. Okay. And of course you can name it whatever you want. So I'm going to go into Blender, and I'm using Blender 2.8, which you'll see, 2.82. So this is the latest version as of this time. So A to select all, X to delete. Now if you're familiar with Blender, you'll probably be just fine with all this. If you're not, I may go a little too fast here, just because I'm way more familiar in Blender than I am in Unreal Editor. So File, Import, FBX, and mine's in Downloads, and I'm going to get the donor FBX, and I don't think we need to change anything in here. Let's just import it and see how it looks. Okay, yeah, that looks okay. Now I'm going to hit period to center on our character here. Actually, it's not completely centered. Alright, so now we don't need the mesh, we just need the bones. So let's go ahead and delete. So X to delete, delete the mesh, and we are left with the bones in all of their strange configuration. We also don't need the IK bones. They will be automatically created for us. One other thing, before we even get too far, let's go ahead and check our names. Okay, so it's called root and pose. Everything okay? It looks okay right now over here, so we'll just leave that alone. So let's start modeling our base character. And like I said, it's just going to be a cube. We're just going to start with a cube. So Shift A, mesh, cube, S to scale, scale it down, and I'm going to press 5 on the number key to switch into orthographic mode. 1 will be the front align, and I'm just pressing these on the keypad. 3, switch to side view. Okay, so we just want our box to make sure that it looks like it's going to be kind of where it fills in the whole, it touches, or it envelops the bones that we're trying to get. So G, Z, and I'm just going to center it up here, and just kind of press period again to zoom in on it. Tab to go into edit mode. Control R will be a loop cut. And just kind of mouse around until you get that line to pop up. There it goes. And you can just click it and just center it. I'm going to hit Z, switch into wireframe. Alt-A to deselect, B to box select, and select the outer vertices. X, delete the vertices. Move over to modifier, select mirror modifier. Now I'm going to press 3 to go into face select mode, and you can just barely see a little bit of change there. I'm going to select this bottom face, and looks like clipping, merge. We may have to adjust those here in a bit, but we're going to see how far we can go just rolling along here. I'm going to hit R to rotate. We're going to rotate it out. We're going to hit E to extrude. These are going to be our legs. And E again. And we're just going to kind of eyeball this. One other thing we can do is I hit Tab to go out of edit mode, Control 2, and that'll be a subdivision surface modifier. Tab to go back into edit mode, and it'll just give us more vertices to work with. And G to just kind of arrange this around the joints. You can rotate it if you want to kind of make your mesh line up however you want. E to extrude again, G to move, R to rotate, and just kind of flatten that out a little bit, and E to extrude one more time. Now we are at the point where, I guess I ought to drop that down, huh? G, Z, and now we've created another E to extrude, and now he's got some kind of feet looking thing. B to box select, G, Z, and I'm just kind of lining this up with G, Z, lining this up with these bones here. I'm sorry if this is confusing. This is just kind of, going over everything in Blender is kind of beyond the scope of this little tutorial. I'm just trying to get folks a character working in Unreal Tournament Editor in a quick way. So now we're going to work on the top of our little character. 1 to go back into front view. E, and I'm just kind of going along the bones here. E, E, and our other face is going to come out right about the arms here, so that's fine. E, E, and we've got something that kind of follows the shape of this thing. Now we're going to do the arms. E, and we're just moving our mouse. Rotate, G, E, rotate, G. Now that is a terrible looking shoulder. Well, I don't want to scale that down. We're just going to have him have hamburger hands. That's fine. G, and just following these bones. E, G, and you get the idea. Rotate. I have to keep saying, boy, he's got some ham fists. Alright, so let's see how he looks. Now we've got this little, I can see this mesh in the middle here, and that's not really desirable. That's going to be an inside face, and it's going to mess with our whole mesh, so we'll delete that. But everything else looks okay. Looks like all the bones are enveloped. So we'll go ahead and apply the modifiers, make that the whole mesh. Let's get rid of this inner mesh deal here. So we're going to tab again, try to select those inside flat faces. There we go. Now there's a way you can select all the linked flat faces. It makes it real easy. So hit F3 to go up to search. Type in linked, select linked flat faces. Boom, that's what we need. So X, delete the faces, and that junk is gone. So now we've just got this hollow mesh, and we're good to go. And tab back into object mode. Now we need to parent this thing. So let's, just to be on the safe side, let's Control A, and let's apply all transforms to our mesh, and let's go ahead and parent it to our armature. So that's Shift, select the armature, Control P, and parent with automatic weights. And we had we had no errors, so that's outstanding. So just to do a quick little test, we're going to select the armature and go into pose mode, and just hit one of these arms, R to rotate, and you'll see that it is in fact rotating. Looks like it's, oh, you know what else we have to do? We have to delete these stupid IK bones. So go back into edit mode. We've still got the armature selected. Let's get rid of these big IK bones. You can tell because it'll start with IK. This is IK Alt Hand, X to delete, and that's another IK, delete, delete, delete. You get the idea. I don't know if we should delete the IK gun. We're going to do it anyway. And hopefully that won't mess anything up. So IK Alt Hand Root, yeah, whatever, X. X. Alright, I think there's some more IKs maybe in the foot. Yep, there's an IK. IK. Nope, that's good. That's a root. There's an IK. There's an IK. Okay, we're good there. There's another one. There's usually two. Alright, and I guess we can look. I guess we could have looked in. That's index. Alright, looks like we are pretty good. Alright, so we're just going to click on the mesh, and click back on the armature, Control P to parent, automatic weights. Okay, good to go. So now we want to export our UT4 Boxman, is what we're going to call this guy. And we're going to export in an FBX, and I'm just putting mine in downloads, UT4 Boxman. Now, before you export, we have to make sure that our settings are right. And I've gone ahead and made an Unreal preset for this. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll see we just want the armature and the mesh, none of the other junk. You'll also notice the forward is -C forward, Y up, and this one might be checked on yours. Add leaf bones, make sure that it's unchecked. Make sure smoothing is set to face. Oh, and one other thing before we export, this is going to mess up Unreal if we don't do this. It'll crash actually if we don't add a material to the mesh. So select your mesh, new material, and it doesn't even matter what you do here. Just make sure it has a material of some kind. I'm not going to try to unwrap it and put a texture on it. We're just going to add a material. So so now we can go ahead with our export. File, export, FBX, and just in case you weren't done looking at everything, of course we could just pause it, but these are all the settings for my Unreal preset, and it seems to be working. So at this point I'm going to export to UT4 Boxman and export FBX, and we'll see if we get any kind of problems when we try to import it into our Unreal Tournament editor. So we're going to go to Import, UT4 Boxman. Now, on here we have a few options as well that we need to pay attention to. And select the skeleton is the base 3P skeleton. I've got this one in here because I just mess around with this stuff. Base 3P skeleton. Make sure those are checked. You do not, if this is checked, that is wrong. Create physics asset, you do not want it to be created. You want the physics asset, base 3P physics asset, base material, it'll figure all that out. Now, we'll cross our fingers, import all. I didn't see any errors. So, okay. So we've got our UT4 Boxman, whatever, we've got our donor, and because I just like to be super safe, I'm going to duplicate our donor. Okay, so we just did this as kind of a test, okay, to see if it would import properly without any errors, and it does seem that it will do that. So on our donor 2, I'm going to go ahead and open him up, and I'm going to do a re-import mesh, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to import our UT4 Boxman. And there he is in all of his beauty. So, it looks like it still didn't give us any errors. We'll go ahead and save. Close. And that really should be about the hard part of it. Now we're just going to go into, we need to create a blueprint. So we're going to go back, just like we did for most of our other characters, if you followed my other tutorials. We're going to do human male base, and actually let's, yeah, no, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Human male base, let's copy it into whatever folder you're working on. Female base into Boxman, move. And finally into Blueprints, move. Okay. And we're going to call this Boxman. Okay. Now for our blueprint, we need to put our Boxman into the blueprint. So now we called our skeletal mesh that we're going to be, that has the animations and everything, we actually called that donor 2. So look for donor 2. Okay, and there he is. Actually, I wouldn't mind changing this material to something besides the default, because that's just going to be 9 kinds of ugly. Compile and save. Let's see what happens. We may need to change this animation mode. We may not. We'll find out. Let's just see what we get. Let's hit play. And the tilde key. And on mine, I've already got it set up, so I'm just going to hit up arrow. I've gone over this in other tutorials, so I'm not going to really, I mean, you just type it in, so it's pretty easy. Behind view, there's a view of his behind. And set care Boxman. Oh my goodness, look at that, ladies and gentlemen. He's rotated 90 degrees, but who cares? Rock and roll. So, we fixed this before. You just go in here and Z negative 90 degrees, boom, compile, save, and hit it one more time. Behind view, and there is our brand new character for Unreal Tournament, ladies and gentlemen. Expect to see lots of new characters coming to Unreal Tournament now. Because what a pain in the butt it has been trying to figure all this out. So, of course, we didn't do the fingers and all that. So he definitely has these, meat hands. But there he is. So enjoy, and I'll come at you with another tutorial that I hope to be helpful.